Welcome to another installment of the real-time computing lectures. This is section 0.5, the myRIO C library. It's from the book, An Introduction to Real-Time Computing for Mechanical Engineers, a lab-based approach. My co-authors and I put this together. You can get a copy there and check out the companion website, rtcbook.org. Okay, so we are in chapter 0 still, and we're going to go through an overview of the myRIO C library. So the target computer, the NI myRIO, is supported by an associated C library we call the myRIO C library. The library location, it can be found in the C support for myRIO directory in the D1A virtual machine workspace. To give you a little preview of what it looks like, we can take a look here in Eclipse at the directory and project C support for myRIO. We have 3 subfolders, including the documentation, the PDF files from National Instruments, the source code, which includes some source files, some C files, and some header files, .h, and a template project as well. So this is provided by National Instruments, and it is included in the virtual machine workspace that we set up. So the input-output, or I/O, communication is how the target computer interacts with the user interface, UI, and electromechanical subsystems. For example, the keypad, the LCD, the encoder, and the amplifier. The role of the FPGA on the myRIO is to primarily handle the input and output, and it's pre-configured by the FPGA bitstream configuration file, which National Instruments calls the personality of the FPGA. It comes with a default personality that mostly configures the FPGA for I/O, but it can be programmed, although we won't be doing that in this course. You can interact with the FPGA through the C code, however, that we'll write, and the myRIO C library is actually set up to provide those interfaces. So we'll learn about how to do that. The key header files and how to initialize the connection to the myRIO. So the header files in the myRIO C library are accessed through the myRIO.h header file. So if you go back over here to Eclipse and look in source, myRIO.h is here, and this file actually isn't very big, but it includes some key subheader files. So myRIO 1900.h is the one that will be included for us because that's the model of the myRIO we're using. If you open that up, it has a lot more definitions of macros and other constants. So yes, and also the NIFPGA.h includes even more definitions. So take a look at those for more detail. The NIFPGA status type. The NIFPGA status type is used to check the status of operations. 0 means success, and there's a constant that defines success, has a value of 0, NIFPGA status success. And negative values are also possible for the NIFPGA status. You can get error codes like the NIFPGA status memory full code, which is negative 52,000. And then you can also have positive values that can come back for the type of the NIFPGA status. And those are warnings. So 0 is success. That's what you typically would like to see. So to initialize a session, you call the function that's built into the library, myRIO open, to start communication with the FPGA. So this is a code snippet that shows how to do that. We'll first declare status to be an NI FPGA status variable, and we will set that variable to the value that myRIO open returns. When you open a session, if it's successful, it will return 0, and status will have a value of 0, which is given the name NI FPGA status success, or an error code or a warning will be assigned to status. Okay, error checking and closing sessions. Error checking. Use myRIO is not success, the function, to test the session status. Returns NI FPGA bool values. There are 2 possible values for an NI FPGA bool type variable. NI FPGA true, which also resolves to the value of 1, which is an error or a warning in the case of the return value from myRIO is not success, and NI FPGA false, which also is the value 0, which means that there was success in checking the status of the myRIO. So here's an example of usage. So we open up a myRIO session. We then check immediately to see what the status was. So myRIO is not success of status, and that will return a Boolean value, and we can return the program, which would be to terminate the program immediately if the status is not success. So if it's success, we will continue beyond this statement here. But if myRIO is not success, then we will return status to the calling program. So if this is in our main, this will be the end of our program. Okay, closing the session. Always close the FPGA session with myRIO close before program termination. Otherwise, the myRIO could become unresponsive, which is quite annoying. So be sure to close it with myRIO close before the program terminates. Okay, putting it all together. So the stub main.c lab exercise files in the VM workspace include the necessary header file and session initialization code in a basic Hello World program. So this is what it looks like. We have some front matter up here, some includes. We're going to always include myRIO.h, the myRIO C library, the t1.h, which is the library that we provide, the authors of the book and I provide. And we'll talk more about that in a moment in section 0.6. Then we're going to put our prototypes in, which I don't have any in at the moment. Definitions are then following that. We're just going to have a very basic main program here. First, we'll declare the status type, just like we learned to do in one of the earlier slides. Then we set the value of status to be whatever myRIO open returns. If it is not successful, then we're going to return status. So this is a statement that will stop the execution of this program if the myRIO does not initialize properly. Good. So if this is passed, so if myRIO is in fact successfully initialized, then we'll insert our code here. So I have just some simple statements, a printf hello world, which will print to the console, and then printf LCD, which if you have the LCD and keypad board plugged in to the B connector, then you'll have the hello world text displayed on the LCD. Finally, we close the myRIO session, and then we return status, which it also returns a status. If it successfully closes, it will return 0, and we'll know that we had a successfully run main program. Evidence will also be present on the LCD screen, of course, and then also in the console. So this is what we have back in Eclipse. If we go to lab 0, the main.c has this basic block of information that is a comment at the beginning that you should insert your information into. Then we have our header file includes. Then we have prototypes, which again, we don't have any for this basic program yet, this hello world, but you will add those there. Definitions follow. So the definitions of our functions. We have main here. We have our same statements that we just looked at already filled in, so that when you start your lab 0, you can immediately run this program, this hello world program, and make sure everything's working, your hardware is working, before you start to write your program. So back to the slides then. Okay, summarizing key practices: always include myRIO.h as the stub files for each lab exercise do, and initialize the FPGA session with myRIO open. Check the status of the session using myRIO is not success, that function from the library. Close the session, myRIO close, to avoid resource leaks. And next steps, we're going to need to learn to interact with the myRIO input-output through the FPGA in upcoming lab exercises. So that is to come soon. Okay, see you next time.